Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. So welcome everyone to Girls Inc. of Metro Denver's very first virtual chat this morning. So we hope you enjoyed and got your package of Bold Beans goodness that hopefully arrived at your house sometime in the last couple of weeks. This call this morning is really to do a couple things. One is to say thank you so much to our Champions for Girls, to our most committed donors who support this work year-round, to give you an update as to what Girls Inc. has been up to during the closure, and also to give you an opportunity to hear directly from girls about what's happening in their world, what they have seen, take shape at school and at home, and also to really hone in on what everyone's hopeful about for the future. So I think that's one thing that, is important to all of us at Girls Inc. is as we think about the future and as we think about moving through really challenging times, is how do we continue to go back to girls, to recognize their leadership, to understand the innovation that they bring to the work, and to really see hope for what's ahead. So thank you for joining us for this chat this morning. Hopefully everyone, again, is settled in with their Bold Beans coffee. And we'll do quick introductions before we get started. So many of you know me. I'm Sonya Ulibarri. I'm the CEO and President at Girls Inc. of Metro Denver, and I'm very happy to facilitate this morning's conversation.
I'm Deja Ramos, and I finished my first year at CU Denver, and I've been with Girls Inc. for a good year.
Jenny, I think you're on mute.
Unmuting. Hi, everybody. My name is Jenny. I'm going into my senior year at MSU Denver, and I've been with Girls Inc. for about 4 years.
And good morning. My name is Naisette. I'm going into my senior year of high school, and I've been with Girls Inc. for 5 years now.
Thank you all. Thanks for the introductions. What I'm going to do is just give a quick overview of what's been happening at Girls Inc. And then we'll dig into some questions. We're also going to leave time this morning for questions from our guests. So if you have things that you want to really ask girls about, we're going to give you time to do that before we end today as well. So just a quick overview. So at Girls Inc., like many of you, we have been moving through these past 3 months with care and intention, trying to figure out kind of what our work looks like in this post-COVID space. So for us, that has meant moving out of our offices. It has meant closing the cafe, and those things are about 3 months in now. So we moved out of that space and into a remote work environment in the middle of March. One thing that was really important for our team was to understand how community needs are shifting and changing during this crisis. So we also understood that we couldn't just go about business as normal and just convert everything that Girls Inc. does into a virtual environment, that we had to really dig deep and think about what were the pockets of need or challenge that community was having that we had some ability to answer or to fill the gap. So for us, that meant talking to community first, talking to girls, talking to parents and families, and understanding the real challenges that they were faced with. So we did several surveys. We did a survey of spring enrolled families, and we did a survey of summer enrolled families. And what we found out was that there was a couple critical areas of need. One is that there was a lot of challenge around food insecurity. And so families who were thinking and worried about the struggle to have regular access to healthy food to eat. And so for us, that was something that we felt we were able to address at Girls Inc. So when we realized that about 40% of our families felt challenged by that issue alone, we were able to become a daily dinner distribution site, which we've done Monday through Friday. We're distributing about 250 meals per week from Girls Inc.'s facility on West Colfax. And then also to be able to open an emergency food and supply bank. Several of you have contributed to that, and we're really grateful And we've been able to provide not just shelf-stable food, but water, household goods, feminine hygiene products, diapers, and wipes. And so it's been a great community resource to be able to turn and deliver those types of services and resources to the community. Additionally, we also realize that the technology gap, the digital divide, is something that continues to be real challenging for our families. And so about 1 in 4 families said that they did not have access at home in order to really support school-based learning in a virtual environment, to be able to access other types of resources, to continue to connect to Girls Inc. services and programs. And so we've been helping to close that. I know Comcast has been a big partner through their Internet Essentials program, which provides very affordable and accessible home internet to families. And then we've also been able to push out technology from Girls Inc. So families can check out a laptop or a Chromebook to support that home learning. So I think those are 2 significant ways that we've been able to shift by both looking at food access and then also understanding more deeply the digital divide that exists. Additionally, we weren't sure what the appetite would really be for Girls Inc. programs in a virtual world. We knew that young people were really stressed by finishing out their spring semester online, and we didn't want to contribute to that. So we asked families and girls, do you want access to Girls Inc. programs virtually? And 90%, in fact, it was just over 90%, said that they wanted to continue their Girls Inc. experience online. And so that was really good for us to hear, to then be able to put a strategy together to deliver those remote programs. And so one of the biggest highlight, I think, of that is not just the programming that happens over the internet, but also the connection that happens. So it's not about just delivering programs remotely, but it's about talking to girls regularly, checking in with girls regularly, and providing the social and emotional support that this time has really called for. That, I think, has been the biggest kind of single area of real benefit to Girls Inc.'s relationships with girls and families, is that we have been able to help close some of that gap and help to address some of the stressors that girls and families are facing outside of those immediate needs. So really some of those mental health components, and again, just knowing that there's a connection and a relationship and trust that we can lean back on. So we have focused on that work. We have been able to deliver all of the school year programs that we had committed to delivering. We've had continuity across all of the age ranges of programs for Girls Inc. And then we have prioritized kind of high touch, one-on-one communication with girls and families so that we, again, can continue to provide that emotional support, as well as continue to understand the evolving need that happens as this crisis has gone, from weeks into months now. So those are some of the real key things that we've done at Girls Inc. For the summer, this has been really interesting. I've told people that one of the really beautiful things about Girls Inc. is we used to say in the summer, the buildings were just bursting with girls, and how much joy and energy and goodness that time is. And so it's an incredibly beautiful thing every year except the summer when COVID-19 is with us. So the facilities bursting with girls is not something that we can do really safely and feel confident about that. So our team has developed something that I think has been really, really unique in the Girls Inc. space that we've shared with other affiliates across the country. It's a strategy that we're calling hands-on remote learning, which means that although programming is anchored through an online virtual environment, we equip girls with all the things they need to really engage in their learning in their homes, with their families, and as independent leaders in their own exploration. So that means that programming will happen remotely, but that each week, girls and families are able to receive learning kits that have all the things in them that they can apply in real life. So the time that they spend with us online is really just to ask questions, to prepare them, to work through instructions, but it's about their own application of that learning and practice in their lives each day that really will carry those experiences and curriculum forward. So we're excited to be able to do that. Our team also developed an online toolkit that our national organization is using to help establish what that looks like in other Girls Inc. across the country, and to really set some best practices in this space, so that when we talk about the real goodness of the Girls Inc. experience, that we can translate that into this new environment in a way that feels more seamless for girls than it has been previously. We're also really excited to be able to push out a lot of Girls Inc. swag. So one thing that's really great is that we love the Girls Inc. brand. And I know many of you love that brand too. You know, we have our mugs, all of us have, you know, t-shirts and all of the Girls Inc. swag. And so we're giving all of that goodness to girls and families this summer too. So they feel a sense of community, of belonging, of connection to Girls Inc., although it looks different than it has in past years. So that's a really quick overview. Summer programs for us this year kick off on Monday. So we're in final preparation for that kickoff right now. And we're also getting prepared to open Bold Beans again to customers. So that's going to happen on Monday as well. So although those things look a little bit different, we're really excited to kind of emerge from these last 3 months, what we believe is stronger, smarter, and bolder, and are just so grateful for the support that each of you have provided to ensure that we can continue to do this work with thoughtfulness and intention, and the biggest and best impact that we can have for girls and their families. So on that note, I think what we'll do is move in to some kind of general questions for girls so they can share more about their experience and how they've moved through this time. I also too, before we move into that, want to acknowledge too that as much as COVID has shaped our life over the last few months, that in the last several weeks, the real push and movement for racial equity in this country that comes off of the killings of George Floyd, of Breonna Taylor, of Ahmaud Arbery, that those events too continue to shape us at Girls Inc., that they continue to impact the lives of our girls and families, of our staff, of our volunteers, that we see some of those issues built into our new advocacy platform that our board approved just several weeks ago, and that we can continue to build the skills and equip girls with the tools they need to be advocates for themselves and advocates for their communities. So much for us has changed in the last few months. So much has changed in just the last couple of weeks. And so we want to acknowledge that as well. And again, be able to have a conversation with girls that sort of incorporates all of those elements. So on that note, I am going to kind of kick us off with a general question to girls. And maybe what I'll do is, Jenny, if you're willing to answer this first one, what has been the most challenging aspect of the last few months for you and or your family?
I would say that overall, I think what's really difficult for everybody is just that abrupt transition. Many of us, right, like from one day to the next, we didn't have our classes in person. People don't have access to their jobs. Maybe for me, for example, I had to move back in with my parents. So that's just a lot of transition within a very small amount of time. So I think that's been probably the most difficult, just because as humans, right, like nobody likes abrupt changes like that. So yeah, I think it's been difficult, but it's learning to navigate and learning to control what you can control and let go of what you can't control.
Nizette, do you want to add to that question? Just, for you, kind of what has been the most challenging piece of these last few months?
Yeah, of course. For me, it's just been maintaining that positive energy. I feel like it was really hard some of the days to get out of bed and really do something productive. Also for me, my mom was still working, so she works in a hospital. So that was really hard on us because we were afraid that, she wouldn't feel so safe going into work. And luckily now she doesn't have any patients around anymore. So that's some great news that we've had over the last couple of weeks. But that was definitely hard to see my mom struggling because she is older of age. So that was intense, and it kind of shut down motivation. But yeah, I would definitely say that just keeping a positive mentality throughout the whole time.
Yeah, and that's probably really hard to stay positive too when you have folks in your household, people that you really care about. In this case, your mom, who is on that front line of work that's happening, right? How about you, Deja? What's been the most challenging piece of these last few months?
I want to say like staying away from my family was really, really hard. And school was the most challenging for me personally. Just having to do the quick transition where I barely settled in to my first year and I was barely getting into my routine, and then having to just quickly turn was really hard.
Yeah, I think many of us probably on the call have experienced elements of all of the things that you shared, whether it's like the abrupt change that we've had to get used to that Jenny talked about, or again, you know, Nizette's concern for folks in her family and people that we know who are on the front lines of this crisis. And then Deja too, staying away from family and people we care about. And then also to, you know, having settled into your first year of college and then having things shift very quickly. So thanks for sharing that. How about the idea of resilience or persevering through, you know, through these challenges? You know, or any of you, can you share just kind of how you do that? What tools you use, what skills you've had to build that resilience, and how you continue to show up every day? Deja?
So I kind of just always try to think about the positive, and that's what kind of keeps me going, just knowing that after this, real change is going to happen. And that just keeps me positive, keeps me afloat. So yeah.
So seeing this as a fundamental time of change. Yeah. Anyone else? Jenny, do you want to add?
Sure. I'm laughing a little bit just because I think I'm a little bit different from some other folks on the call, right? I'm not necessarily like this really optimistic person all the time, right? Like, and a lot of times I can be that very pessimistic, like, oh my goodness, like this is so overwhelming, especially when we talk about the Black Lives Matter movement, along with COVID, along with transition, along with, you know, not being able to work anymore. Like for a lot of us, it's really, really heavy right now. But I think what I really try to work on is, like I mentioned before, is to take ownership of what I can control, right? So what I can control is my attitude. What I can control is how I interact with people on a day-to-day basis, but I can't control COVID, right? Like I can't control that. So I try my best to focus on that and, you know, appreciate that I have time right now to spend with my family that otherwise I wouldn't be spending. So I do try to look on those positive notes as well. But sometimes I'm a pessimist, and I'm sure maybe some of y'all are too sometimes, and that's okay. And we're working through it.
Yeah, definitely. I can tell you I've had those days. So, and I know that many of us have, where you sort of sit back and take stock of everything that's happening right now. So another kind of question, and maybe we can start with Nizette. What do you think you'll remember most about this year? What's the biggest learning that you want to take away?
I think it's definitely like somewhat related to what Jenny was saying. Like I can only control so much. So like controlling my reaction to things and the way that I feel about things is definitely very important to me. You know, some of those days like I didn't want to get out of bed, but I thought about like my education and like I really care about my education. So making sure I showed up for all my meetings, like creating that routine to get along through these last couple of months, I think that's something I will definitely remember, because if I could do it in these last couple of months, then I can do it any other time. So I think that it just prepared me for anything that is coming up next.
Thanks, Nizette. I think that's so important to remember. Deja, how about you? What do you think your biggest learning will be, or what do you hope to kind of take away from this experience?
Like Nessa said, just learning how to control my reactions, learning how to control my emotions during this time is really one thing I'm going to take away from this. But what I want to take away, like what I really want, is just to really have my own personal self-care after all of this, since it's just really been about self-care this whole 3 months. I just want to have like a good understanding of where I'm at in life and like how I could go through.
Yeah, I think it's really important to remember self-care. One of my favorite quotes is Audre Lorde, who said, self-care is not self-indulgence, it's self-preservation, right? And how do we preserve ourselves through this? Jenny, any final thing that you're hoping to really kind of learn from this time?
Yeah, definitely. So the thing that I'll remember most about this year, I think, would be just like the community gathering and the collective. And it's like, it's so amazing to see people like gathering together and doing these things, like having a food bank at Girls Inc., like providing dinners, like that kind of stuff is so important. And it just like makes my heart so warm. And then what I want to take away from the year is flexibility and being able to adapt to all these different circumstances. I feel like after, some of this is not over, but after we get a little more adjusted, like I think a lot of us are going to be well equipped to handle a lot of other things, keeping in mind our mindset during this time.
Yeah, I think that's really important. So much talk in this work, in nonprofit work and direct service work, is understanding the role of trauma that shows up, and also to the way that trauma can be passed on generationally. I think that one thing that's really interesting to me is the role of resilience, right? And whether resilience can be passed on generation to generation, and how we continue to build that. So that's something I think that's going to be a really important thing that we talk about and integrate, is how can we continue to build on that and take things from this experience that will equip us to be able to do more. One of the questions that we have asked ourselves at Girls Inc. through this whole process is, have we done all we can? Have we done all that we can? Are we doing all that we can? And I think for us, that is sort of the fundamental question that we have to ask, as this continues to evolve, and as hopefully we find, an end point to it, is to be able to answer that question with a real sense of pride, right? Is how we rallied together, how we met need, how we supported each other, how we built these skills and tools. And so I think that that's something that, obviously comes from all of the girls and families that we're with each day, each week, each month, and then comes from all of you. So thank you for contributing to that. Okay, so we're going to dig into a couple kind of tailored questions right now. So we're at Bold Beans this morning. You can probably see the sign behind my shoulder here, in preparation for opening on Monday the 15th. One of the things that we're really proud of during this closure is that we have been able to, although business has been shut down, the cafe has been closed, our food truck has been parked, we've been able to provide pay continuity for all of our baristas, that we were able to ensure that we were not adding to a decrease in earnings or unemploying girls. So that was something that, again, has been important for all of us to maintain and be committed to. We've also been able to have some really innovative things happen with Bold Beans as well. So I want to ask Deja, who has been kind of one of the supports for this campaign, to talk a little bit about the Coffee for Caregivers campaign that Bold Beans launched this spring. So can you share a little bit about that campaign, Deja?
Yes, of course. So Girls Inc. and Bold Beans just wanted to find a way to give back to the frontline workers. And of course, we have so much coffee. We decided to do a Coffee for Caregivers campaign for the people fighting the pandemic. And so we practically delivered over 50 pounds to various hospitals and care centers to just do our part within the community.
Yeah, and in total, we were able to sell over 300 pounds of coffee for that campaign and deliver it. So Deja had a part of that, but we had such a great response from community for that campaign. And we're able to really think about how we keep kind of business operations running while also serving this new community of frontline workers. So why do you think it resonated with so many people?
It resonated just because it was an easy, quick way for people to just give back to their community safely within their homes. So it was just pretty much easy click of the button saying that, yes, I would like to donate, and yes, it's a good idea. So I think that's why it resonated so well.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that they got kind of two things from it, right? Is they got to support frontline work that was happening. They could do it safely from their homes. And also, too, they got to support the work that we're doing at Girls Inc. and Bold Beans. So kind of one final question, Deja. Just tell us a little bit about, what you're looking forward to as Bold Beans starts to reopen. And what have you really enjoyed about being on the barista team and working in the social enterprise?
So I can't wait till it opens because I miss a lot of the regulars here. Just seeing everybody that I usually talk to on a normal basis before all of this happened. So trying to catch up with them and seeing like how their dogs are, because we've seen a lot of dogs and just everything. I love the side of Bold Beans. Like I love being able to connect with customers, but as well as other baristas, like having these girls as family and being able to do little things is pretty awesome. And it's just a work environment that I love, and it's amazing.
Thanks, Deja. Anybody want to add anything to that on Bold Beans before we switch gears a little bit? Anything you're looking forward to?
I'll go. Just overall, like Deja said, Bold Beans is just like such an amazing place to work. Like I've had all kinds of different jobs in similar environments, and it's just not the same as Bold Beans. Like it just provides us a level of like flexibility and care. Like we can tell our manager cares about us. We can tell Sonya cares about us. We care about each other, like Deja was saying, and being able to get pay, like I don't think people understand like how amazing that is, especially in a situation like ours right now, where so many people are losing their jobs and aren't able to earn income. It's, for me personally, it's been like just such a big game changer to not have to worry that I'm not making money right now. So I just appreciate Girls Inc. so much and Bold Beans for all of that work.
Thanks, Jenny. It's definitely a team effort. I mean, we feel like our partnership is with girls. And when we go back to that question too, have we done all we can? We have to be able to answer that from that partnership perspective. So thanks for sharing that. Okay, so switching gears a little bit, talking about getting ready for summer programs, talking about the experiences that girls will have. So I'm gonna kind of focus on Nizette right now. So in addition to being a Bold Barista, Nizette is a Eurekan. So she is a participant in our 5-year STEM program called Eureka. She has been in the program now, I think this is your 4th year, correct, Nizette? 5th year, oh my gosh, time flies. So I wanted to talk a little bit about just, why does STEM interest you? Why has it been important that you're part of the Eureka program and that programs like this for girls in STEM, why is it important that these types of programs exist? So just kind of a general overview about, again, why you're in it and what you see as important.
Okay, so going back to like 7th grade, which is when I heard about it, I've always been very shut off, very quiet, definitely an introvert. And it was the first program or like the first activity that I really felt excited about. So I just immediately was like, yes, like I'm ready for it, like I'm gonna do it. And now like looking back at it, I'm so glad that I did it, because growing up I always wanted to be a marine biologist. So I always was interested in science, and like I just thought it was really cool that a group of girls was going to be focusing on these types of topics. And so it just really allowed me to like just kind of step in a little bit and to see what it's like and what it could bring for me. And so I've had a lot of experiences like working in different colleges and like doing like different lab tests and like activities that have to do with science. And my last internship last summer was at Leprino Foods, and I was in their biochemistry lab. So it was just a really cool opportunity for me to just kind of expand into seeing what I would want to do. And I just think that's really cool because a lot of girls, or a lot of people in general, just don't get the opportunity to experiment before they go into college. And so I think that that's really interesting and that's really important. So I'm glad that I was able to kind of just look around and see what if I really liked it or not, or if I wanted to change it or something like that.
And can you talk a little bit about maybe an experience that you've had with Eureka that has stood out to you, or has been one that, you know, has been kind of a high impact experience as you continue to explore STEM and think about your future career?
I think the internships for sure have impacted me the most, just because it really gave me an opportunity to see from a working perspective, you know, like, is this something that I want to do every single day? Is this something that really interests me? Is it something that I'm really passionate about? And I was able to meet so many people and just see what people do on a regular basis and see if I wanted to just do that later on in the future. And also, like, the work experience that I gained from it, like, I was really young for these internships, and I think that that just helped me to get where I am now. And, you know, like, working at Bold Beans and like working for a program at my school. So I think the internships really helped out for everything from communication to, you know, like, working with other people and working as a team. So I definitely think that the internships are really impactful.
Thank you. We actually will have about 40 paid interns this summer who are getting to complete their Eureka internship uh, component, because we're doing a combination of experiences that can be safely done in person as well as experiences that are remote. So that's one thing that we have committed to, is even though the kind of space for internships is really different this summer with COVID, that those are such impactful pieces of the program that we didn't want to just eliminate them altogether, that we had to really think creatively with our partners about how these internships could still happen and can still be very girl-centered. So we're really excited to be able to continue that this summer. And Nizette, as a fifth year, we had planned as sort of the capstone of the Eureka program to take our fifth year girls to Puerto Rico this summer. So that had been planned for July, to do an intensive experience through a STEM lens in a more global environment, which has had to shift. So that's one of the real sad pieces for us, is not being able to travel this summer with girls. But we've been able to take the funds that we would have done that and convert those into college scholarships. So, so Nizette, can you just maybe close us off on kind of one thing you're looking forward to in kind of finishing up your Eureka experience this next year, you know, this summer, or even like next school year?
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to see what comes next, you know. So since this program is going to be ending, and since we're unfortunately not going to be able to go on our trip, I'm excited to see what else we can do. I think that, like, one of the bigger points of it is just to be together, and hopefully we can be in like small groups, but with some of our people that we have grown up with. So I think that that'll be really interesting. I'm excited to see where I go with Girls Inc. even after high school, you know, continuing on with even through college. So I'm excited to see what's next, and I'm looking forward to see what we can come up with.
Thanks, Nizette. I'm looking forward to it too. So Jenny, let's switch gears a little bit, and let's talk about girls' mental health. I know that this is something that has been a real important topic for you, and something that you've also really incorporated into your own Girls Inc. experience. You have helped to launch a new program focused on mental health and resilience called Thrive, and you're also thinking about it as a future career. So can you talk a little bit about just kind of your interest in that area and why you think it's so important for girls?
Definitely. So just a little bit of background. I am a psychology major. I'm thinking about becoming a therapist possibly as one of my career options. So mental health is like almost everything I care about. I think it's so important. I think it's integral to our just daily functioning and well-being. And I think that we don't think about it enough in terms of, in comparison to like our physical health, right? But I think our mental health is just as important. So Thrive really focuses on this kind of built mental health system that's built for us, by us. So it's facilitated by students, by me and my younger sister who helps facilitate. And so it creates kind of you can think of it in terms of like kind of like a group therapy. It's more of just like chatting, talking about our experiences. I think one of the really things that's important in a lot of careers is to see people who look like you, who have similar experiences to you, who represent something that's similar to your background. So I think a lot of the girls that participate in our Thrive get a lot out of it, because it isn't you talking to maybe somebody who's older who might intimidate you. It's really just like friends. We're just talking about our lives, talking about the struggles that we go through, and collectively figuring stuff out, and finding ways to heal from a lot of things that many of us don't have room to address outside of Thrive, outside of that kind of safe space. So it's been really cool to participate and actually facilitate programming at Girls Inc. since I've participated as a student in so much of the different programming that's offered over there. So it's a really fulfilling kind of role that I have right now.
Yeah, I love that. I love that it can be youth created and led, right? And that experience through that lens is one that is incredibly valuable, and it adds to the work. So when we think about, the COVID crisis, and also to, again, sort of everything that has really come to the surface over these last few weeks, is, studies have shown that the mental health impacts for women have been almost twice that as their male counterparts, in terms of how they're identifying that worry and stress are really seeping into their daily life. So about 3/4 of women have indicated that it has taken a toll on their mental health. So, why do you think this is, Jenny? I mean, what are you seeing for girls and women that you think that this is sort of an area of heightened concern?
Yeah, I think it could be due to a lot of different reasons. The main ones that come to my mind are the way that women are often caretakers for a lot of people, whether that's children, parents, whether that's their job. A lot of times, a lot of that, I call us like emotional holders, right? We hold a lot of that emotional, I don't even know how to explain it, but like the emotions of a lot of people, we hold that. And I think that can be a really difficult job, especially in high stress situations like we are right now, where I think often women might feel like they have to be very strong, take care of other people. They don't take care of themselves. Like Deja mentioned, often self-care is just like the back burner. We aren't thinking about it on a daily basis. We are not taking care of our mental health on a daily basis. But yeah, and also things like childcare, right? Finding access to that, especially when we think about many people losing their jobs, and having access to healthcare, access to childcare that's already so expensive, and also just the stress of losing your income. What if you're a single mom out there and you're the only provider for your family? What are you going to do if you lose your job? So I think it's just, there's a lot of layers, right? We can talk about SES, we can talk about education. There's just a lot of different things.
Yeah, I totally agree on all those things that you shared, and also the complexity of the layers that exist. So you're also a Girls Inc. scholarship winner. And you're heading into your final year of college. Can you just share a little bit with us about kind of what you're looking, forward to as a fourth-year college student this year, especially with everything that's changed in the way that we access education?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's been really interesting, that transition to online learning. I'm really lucky that I actually have taken quite a few online courses before this, just because they allow for a lot of flexibility. So I feel pretty well equipped to handle online learning, but a lot of other people aren't used to that. So that's like something I think that the education system really we have to work on it, and see how we can better teach people online. But in terms of your other part of the question, yeah, I'm super excited. It's kind of crazy. You know, people always say you're gonna graduate before you know it, like it's gonna go by so fast, and I never believed them, of course. And now I'm sitting here going into my senior year, like it's just wild. I'm just really excited to take more courses. Like I just am loving all my coursework. I love psychology. So I'm kind of a little bit of a nerd. I just like want to take every single class that I can. And I'm really excited for just what the future holds. I'm not really sure exactly whether I want to go to graduate school, if I'm going to take a gap year, maybe get an internship and look into getting a little more experience within the field of psychology, or even like participating in research is something I would really like to participate in, just depending on the circumstances. But yeah, it's been amazing. And thanks to the Girls in Scholarship, of course, like my experience has been so much less stressful than I had anticipated it being, just because my family does not have the money. My parents have not given me any money at all for college. They aren't able to. So I've had to pay my way through it. And then I got the Girls in Scholarship, and that just like provided this extra like safety layer for me to not feel so pressured by the money. And I can focus on like my passion. I can focus on the actual schooling besides like, you know, and not have to be stressed about money, which is something that shouldn't have to be during college. Right? You should focus on your learning.
Well, we're so glad you're able to do that. It's exactly what it's meant to do. So thanks, Jenny, for sharing all of that. Okay, we have a couple questions on chat. So I can kind of tackle these, and then we can also get girls' input. So Linda Brisnahan asks, I'd like to hear more about how Bold Beans will be doing business. How many baristas, special cleaning, masks for girls and customers, etc. So that's a great question, Linda. I'll kind of give a quick overview, and then if any of the baristas want to also add to that. So we're looking at kind of a bunch of layers of an operational plan to get back into business at Bold Beans. So one is that we're situated inside Steam on the Platte. So we're in a, you know, a bigger space that also has a lot of those components in place. So there are restrictions around social distancing in the building and how we can access the building, in mask requirements here. But I think for us at Bold Beans, like we've looked at kind of 4 areas of reopening and put plans together for each one of those. So one is the cleaning and disinfecting. So ensuring that we have a very regular and heightened schedule for cleaning and disinfecting our space, whether it is behind the counter, front of the counter, in this kind of surrounding commons areas. So really thinking very intentionally about the way that regular cleaning and disinfecting happens. I think the other piece too is health screening. So equipping girls with what they need to understand their own health, to be able to recognize warning signs if something is happening, to do things like temperature checks and well-being checks. And so all of those pieces are in place. Providing adequate PPE, so personal protective equipment, so masks and gloves, plexiglass that's going to be up on the counter, also to create a barrier between customers and baristas. And then shifting the way the operations happen. So making sure that we're staggering shifts, that we have a fewer hours of operation that we'll be doing, at least to start, and that we're also kind of looking at drink items and menu items that are the safest to prepare and easiest to prepare. So we're looking at it kind of in those 4 areas. So cleaning, health screening, PPE, and general operations. And so it'll be a slow start. And we'll learn as we go, like many folks are doing. And so that's really kind of the plan. Anything any baristas would add? That's pretty comprehensive. Yeah. And then also training. So baristas are all going through training this week too, to get ready for all of that and to feel secure and safe in being able to come back to work in a way that doesn't risk them, their health, or the health of the folks that they're around, their families. So next question, how can we keep connected? How can we keep you all connected to Girls Inc. once you finish different parts of the program? So I don't know if anybody wants to talk about maybe Even Jenny, like you are in college now. You started at Girls Inc. when you were in high school. So you want to talk about just kind of how you have stayed connected?
Sure. So my experience is a little bit unique in terms of I'm not from Denver. I'm actually from Boulder, Longmont area. So when I first got involved with Girls Inc., I was actually commuting. Every time I wanted to come to programming, I was commuting over an hour to get here. So that should speak, I think, about the Girls Inc. programming, right? That I wanted to do that. But I really loved it. And so when I was going into college and thinking about how I still wanted to be involved, it kind of transitioned for me into Bold Beans first. So that was my way of staying connected, right? Because being at Bold Beans, although it's not on site to Girls Inc., you still hear what's going on. I can ask about events. I can make sure that I know what's going on at Girls Inc. But then it moved further when I transitioned into this facilitation role. So I'm actually there. Once a month I do the mental health workshops, and right now in this we're doing them virtually. So I think there's a lot of different ways, right? Like we can volunteer, we can help with programming, what else? All kinds of stuff. It just, as long as you want to be involved, I think Girls Inc. will find a way. It can even be going to one of the staff members and being like, hey, I'm free Tuesdays, how can I be involved? And Girls Inc. staff will work with you and figure out what's best for you. But yeah, it's been really nice to stay connected. And like I said, like I'm a senior, like I didn't necessarily anticipate that Girls Inc. would be such a big part of my life, but it is a very large part of my life.
Thanks, Jenny. I think one thing that we really value and is part of that really unique element of the Girls Inc. experience is what we call sustained exposure, right? And being able to stay connected over long periods of time, as well as the mentoring relationship piece of the Girls Inc. experience. So having these trusted mentor-based relationships where you can continue to connect, continue to stay engaged, continue to think about other opportunities to give back or to serve in leadership roles. So I think that's something that we really value at Girls Inc. and again speaks to those long-term relationships. We're also excited this year to really invest more into our alumni program. So that's happening more consistently across all of our alumni networks. And so that's something that we're really excited about. I know our staff is excited about connecting with more alumni each year. So excited for that. There's a question about kind of going back to the reopening. Do any of you feel nervous about coming back to work? I think there's probably a level of nervousness in all of us in emerging from this time. So I don't know if anybody's willing to share maybe what they're nervous about. Sure, Deja.
So I'm not nervous about the opening and business side of it, but I am nervous of the how many customers we are going to be able to gather like within a day, because since most of these companies are out of the building and are working remotely, and only half of them are coming back to the building, it's difficult there, and that's where I'm nervous. But I'm pretty excited for opening, and I'm not that for that part.
Thanks, Deja. Anyone else? Naiza, do you want to comment at all on that? Anything you're nervous about?
Yeah, same as Deja. I'm really excited to get back. I haven't been working with Boldings for too long, but I'm really excited to just get back into the routine and get back into like a more regular, normal schedule like I used to have. I didn't have as many customers also because I was working in the afternoon shifts, but I am excited to be able to do more like morning shifts and have like just spend more time at Bold Beans overall. So I'm excited to come back too.
Thanks, Nizette. There's also another question about how can those in the tech industry help add to the Eureka internship experience. So it's interesting because tech is such an important part of the STEM experience. It's an area of interest for so many girls. And it's one of the areas too that we've been able to pivot, I think, more effectively in offering virtual internships for the summer. And so as we also think about how some of those internships will also carry into the school year, as well as how we really need to get used to a virtual environment long term. So I think we're all starting to understand that this is not just a short-term strategy, that we have to look at integrating virtual strategies long-term into program delivery, that we're going to continue to need more partners, more think partners, more folks who are willing to do those internship experiences with girls, and so would love to connect with you. So Audrey, I hope that answers your question, and we can definitely follow up and connect you to our internship manager too, who's been really great at figuring out, again, how to shift and pivot into that virtual internship space, and I think tech is a great potential partner there. So any other questions? Looks like Susan Powers is on too from STEAM, who has been our incredible partner in bringing Bold Beans into this space and is excited for girls to return as well. I think we all are. Again, I think there's all a sense of nervousness, a sense of unknown too, as to what it's the emerging from this is going to look like, and also some excitement. So one final question, and this is actually a fantastic pivot and really actually centers on the final question that I have for girls. So we're going to go ahead and go with Bijal's question that just came across chat. So what is one hope or request that you have for those of us who are great supporters for you and all of your work? So what is one hope that you have or one request that you have? And, you know, my final question was really, again, kind of what is one thing you're hopeful for the future? So maybe we can like partner those in some way, and, you know, what you need to get to that place of hope and optimism. So is anybody willing to kind of start with this final question? I know it's a big one. Deja?
Okay, so I just want to say thank you for all the support. And with me, I work on to do communications, and that's a big marketing point. So I just want to kind of request, like, as if we could do like more marketing on Instagram, and if our supporters could like really share it and like put it out there for us, would be really, really awesome. Because that's what I want to do, is like getting the marketing side on in the Instagram and everything.
Thanks, Deja. And way to plug our Instagram too. So if you're not following Girls Inc. on social media, please do, and please share our information and our supports. A lot of what comes to our social media comes from girls and girl leaders in this space. So thanks, Deja. Jenny?
Hello. So I'll answer both ends of the question. I think first, for supporters, I think one of the best things that you can do is to make sure that your support is continued support and sustainable support that you do over time, right? And that you see us all the time and support us and like our posts. So it's this like relationship that is sustainable versus like a one-time thing, right? And then in terms of more broadly, in terms of the future, I would say that I'm really hopeful that this time will be really revolutionary and really a time for introspection that will allow us to be more mindful of ourselves and for others. And yeah, I'm excited. I think there's a lot of things that are shifting right now for the better. And yeah, we'll just be hopefully more mindful of each other.
Definitely. Thanks, Jenny. Nizette?
Yeah, same as Deja, thank you so much for your support. I guess I'm just hopeful for Girls Inc.'s future. I hope that Bold Beans becomes more widely known and we can have more different locations throughout the city or throughout the state or even throughout the country, you know. I have dreams. But I just, you know, I would love that support to continue, and I would love to overall be a supporter myself even as I grow up. And like more broadly, I'm hopeful to get back into a normal routine. You know, I'm hopeful for a day where everything is just, you know, better than it is right now. So I'm hoping for a lot of positive change and a lot of positive outcomes through this year.
Thanks, Nizette. Appreciate it. I think that was all summed up incredibly beautifully. So thinking about sharing our work with others, right? Continuing to be ambassadors for what Girls Inc. does, for our mission, for our programs, for the type of partnerships we hold, and how we really look at working side by side with girls and families as partners in this work, as allies in this work, I think is really important. That sustainable support that Jenny talked about. We know that the things that we want to accomplish, whether it's racial equity, gender equity, that those are things that are not done quickly, that there's not, they're not short-term solutions, they're long-term systematic things that we're working on. And so that sustained support over time is really important to thinking about the long-term goals that we have when we think about our work in partnership with girls. And then I think the piece that Jenny talked about too around the mindfulness, right? And how we have to be intentional and mindful about how we're moving through the world, about where we focus our time, our energy, our resources, and how we continue to challenge ourselves to get better each day. And so I think that those are three great pieces of hope and of request in terms of your engagement. And I'll just close by saying, one of the practices that I've put in place during this time is gratitude, and gratitude in a more consistent way. So each day I try to think about something that I am grateful for. And that helps to keep me in the mind space to move through all of this in my role. And so when I think about what I'm grateful for today, I'm grateful for girls' leadership and girls' voice. I'm grateful for the commitment that we have from all of these girls and their families to be on this journey with us. I am grateful for the whole girl approach that Girls Inc. brings to the work, that girls can be involved in a lot of different elements that Girls Inc. has to offer to build toward the future that they want for themselves. And of course, I'm grateful for all of you. I'm grateful for the donors and volunteers, the funders, the champions that we have, who have committed to this work long term, who understand the value that it holds, and who are willing to just stick with us year in, year out to accomplish all of the goals that we have. And so that gratitude extends across the board. And I just wanted to end on that note. And thank you all again for joining us this morning. Thank you for continuing to be part of this mission to inspire all girls to be strong, smart, and bold. And we hope to see you in person sometime soon. And if you're ever interested in dropping by the coffee shop, please do. Again, we'll start with opening between about 8 and 3 p.m. on Monday the 15th. So thank you all so much. Have a great rest of your day. And again, thank you so much for all of the support you give Girls Inc. Have a great one. Bye, everyone.